Enfield Planning Board. It's Wednesday, July 8th, 2026, and I am calling the meeting to order at still 6:30. Members present from my left.
Linda Jones.
John Klug, Selectman's Rep.
I'm David Fract.
Tim Jennings.
Paul Bianco.
Bill Griffin.
Jason Parker, alternate.
Kurt Gotthard, alternates.
Staff.
Staff.
Okay, Jason, I'm going to elevate you to a full working member for this evening. I'm not sure that we're going to take any action, but if we do vote on something, you will be asked to vote.
Hopefully the minutes. Yeah. Right? We'll get to approve some minutes.
We do.
And adjournment.
That's
Okay, is there anybody online that's a board member?
No.
No.
No, it's just
Okay.
Seeley.
All right, so we have no hearings. We have a conceptual for Montcalm Golf. Jeff, do you want to come up and present, or is somebody else going to present?
I'm gonna do it, David, and Travis is gonna help me as Vanna White.
Yes. Yes.
Mind if I do this, Rob?
Yes. You need a hand?
No. Should be all right. Oh, yeah, we got it.
You got it? Yep.
Thank you, sir. Put that- And so,
Jeff, for the record, would you state your name and what capacity you are here in?
thank you, David. Jeff Goodrich with Pathways Consulting, working with Jay and Travis Boucher as owner's representative for Montcalm Golf Course in Kristen Brenner is the owner of the golf course. Thank you. I'm gonna lay these out, Travis, and tell you when I want to throw them up. Okay. Slowly. So the long story short for me on this front is I've been talking to both Ed and Rob for some time about different land use issues. And as we looked at Montcalm, I was trying to think about the genesis of our discussions, Rob, and it goes back to this board approved Nicole Sipes project a year ago or more, but we started talking about the planning for it. It's a project on Bog Road, and basically the zoning ordinance requires what's called a cluster subdivision for projects with 10 lots or more, and it's this open space cluster subdivision. So the question for Rob back and forth relative to land use broadly, and then with respect to considerations in the master plan that led to, I think, some of the proposed zoning changes in the last year, relate to what I'm going to talk about tonight, and Montcalm's a good example. So fast forward, the open space cluster language does not promote compact development with open space, and it's in section 405 of the zoning ordinance. It includes language that promotes basically a conventional grid subdivision with dimensions that are reduced by 55%. So if you say 2 acre lot, roughly 1 acre lot. If your frontage is 100 feet, it could be 50 feet. Nonetheless, it brings with it the same grid pattern with all the setback requirements and so forth that go with a conventional subdivision. And as I mentioned, this is mandatory for projects proposing 10 lots or more. So some of the things we've talked about, and I say we, again, referencing Ed and Rob, over a variety of issues, is it's full disclosure, working for the town as a town engineer as well for like Lakeside Park and the byway, among other things, so I get to cross paths all the time. But in the master plan, we were looking at some general considerations, and so the question I posed essentially to Ed and Rob separately was, what are the bullets that come out of the master plan? Among other things, master plan is intended to manage and direct growth, kind of simply said. It also is oriented to preserve open space and promote conservation. And I'm condensing bullets big time, so forgive me. I just don't want to talk too much about it. Protection of water quality is another big part of the master plan. Maintaining rural character, protecting what makes Enfield special, and then encouraging good planning principles. which is leading me here tonight. And so the question I'm posing tonight effectively is, do the current town regulations, both zoning and subdivision, do they accomplish the goals set forth in the master plan? I'll leave that to you, but that's what we're teeing up, if you will. So first one here, Travis, let's just take the top one. Yeah, this one. I want to put that one on the left. Save that one for the next one. One big powerful one. So this map essentially shows the existing property at Montcalm. And I'll break it down in some detail in a bit, but effectively this is generated from New Hampshire Granite LiDAR in general terms, and for orientation purposes, I-89, essentially the access road that comes up to Clubhouse at the top. This is the golf course. Got a graphic that shows the holes numbered, but and the maintenance facilities are down in this location. It's basically a quick overview. The LiDAR, the information that we have includes contours at 2-foot intervals, and I think in the open spaces, they're pretty accurate. We'll check that with survey equipment at a certain point. And of course, then there's infrastructure that's supporting the existing facilities. Currently, there are 3 zoning districts. Basically, there's R5 on this side of the parcel. It's residential 5. It allows 5-acre lots and includes approximately 16 acres of the parcel. The commercial industrial CI zone is in this area. It continues down the valley, if you will, or up the valley. And it allows 2-acre lots. And that includes approximately 177 acres. Conservation zone, which I'll show you in more detail, essentially includes where the golf course is. That allows 10-acre lots and includes approximately 182 acres. Total 370 acres, ballpark for the whole parcel. So permitted uses, and this is something I went back and forth with Rob about well before this project, but this project as well. R5 basically allows single-family dwellings and cluster development. Single family would be one home on a 5-acre parcel. The CI allows cluster development with no definition of residential uses. It's one of the things I asked Rob when first, like, what's allowed here? And then it allows a variety of commercial uses, including recreational uses and a restaurant, which Montcalm has an interest in putting in. And then the final zone, the conservation zone or C zone, allows single-family dwellings and cluster development with non-commercial outdoor recreation. I'll leave that definition future discussion. So again, 5 acres, 2 acres, and 10 acres. So question I've thrown out is, since the existing golf course generally resides in the conservation zoning district, a rhetorical question with Rob in a sense was, does that mean that an existing member golf course and clubhouse are non-conforming? It's just a question for consideration. And when the master plan talks about special places in town, certainly the water bodies, but I also think as a recreational facility, this is a special place. What's interesting is the golf course and the clubhouse basically are contemplated. They're basically in the conservation zone. But when you look at the uses that all 3 zones accommodate, the CI zone included, they would be permitted uses if we looked at the CI zone. For what it's worth, on those 370 acres, I did a sort of deep dive through zoning, had Rob check some of the stuff I looked at, and came up with a density in all 3 zones. So I call it an as-of-right density based on what the zoning allows. Some are between 104 and 110 units, 110 lots, so 104 to 110 on 370 acres. So ballpark, average 4 acres per lot. So the next thing I wanted to do is put up this graphic, and if I may, Rob, let's put that on top of this one.
Travis, sorry.
So the cluster concept, and I try to go back to the site thing too much, but it's more the same thing. It's basically we're R5 for site, and it was easier to have 5-acre lots than have to try and deal with the cluster provisions. So Nicole abandoned that pretty quickly. When I look at this, I say, okay, if I get hypothetically in the CI zone, let me pull my scale out, so we can see different parcel boundaries in yellow, showing the overall parcel. The R5 zoning district is in this corner.
Could I interrupt a moment?
Sure, Tim.
I cannot see any of that.
I was gonna ask if
Want
anybody
me to throw it
could see
on the
that.
table?
There's no light over
I'm
there.
wondering if it, what if it was flat on the table here and we kind of stood up around it? Would that be helpful?
So, could we put it on this?
We can fix that lighting problem, you know.
You want to?
I know some guys.
There's no budget for it.
Yeah, Travis, let's do that. We got two plans.
Sounds like a
We
volunteer.
can, and then we can kind of move it around.
I could also take a picture of
He
it.
gives you guys.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Thank you, Tim.
Let's use your,
Here, you want the clamps here?
yeah.
That's gonna be much better.
I'm gonna snap a photo so and send it to Rob, so if he's able to get it up on Zoom as a share.
Can you flip this side back
Absolutely.
somehow? Oh, well, that
I
shows
might
it.
just carry it or pass it around on this.
Why don't you put the easel
In the middle?
in the center there? And I think that way everybody will have a much better chance of seeing what you're trying to
Yep.
present. And since the people in the audience are, I think, all part of your group anyhow,
Yeah, I can see that.
Here's a,
Thank you, Tim.
here's a paper clip to hold that corner down.
We got more clamps too, if you want.
I sent that email if you wanna bring it up.
That's great.
Give it a better one. Yeah. Somebody else is coming.
Would you guys like to clamp the other side too? Throw that on there.
Well, that's good.
Okay. So, let me step back just a little bit. I'm gonna turn that a little bit sideways, Rob, so I can sneak in. So the yellow outlines basically show the various parcels that comprise Montcalm. The zoning districts, R5 is shown over here. Essentially, the difference between the conservation and commercial industrial zone, off the town zoning map, it's the blue line, but it actually in the zoning ordinance makes reference to a certain elevation, which we grabbed off New Hampshire granite as the red line. That's the difference between 104 and 110 units to me. It depends on which area I'm using for density calcs. So if I say generally, if we do a 55% reduction in a 2-acre parcel, I'm going to just round it to an acre. So the question is, can we take a grid, a conventional subdivision, and plop 1-acre lots on the site? And I can say, looking at the topography, it doesn't make a lot of sense necessarily, but the requirements of the ordinance say we have to look at a subdivision that looks something like this for units. The little 1-acre squares we put together here suggest 70 possible, but if I look at land and other constraints on site, I don't know if it's possible to do 50 the way this is arrayed by language. Just wanted to walk through that. In a nutshell, I think it's fair to say that the prescriptive conventional subdivision approach is pretty land consumptive, and we can't get up to the as-of-right density that's already in the zoning ordinance. What's interesting to me is we're not making a suggestion or request we change the density. Rather, if we apply the current density, can we build it? And then, as you can see, this also requires inordinate infrastructure with a bunch of roadways that have to go in to support this sort of conventional layout. And so laying out what is required by the regulations, from my perspective, does not appear to be consistent with the values in the master plan, which is why we're here. It's a back and forth with staff. We began talking about what's a real cluster. So Travis, let's bring that over. The last one, the third. The question is, what does a real cluster look like? So I grabbed another project. Yep, bring her over. Yeah. You good?
Yep.
This is an example of a real project. It just got built. It's essentially Occam-Path. It changed its name. It's a 21-unit cluster project where the old radio station used to be across from the Sachem Rec Fields. This parcel is, by rule, allows essentially single-family homes and duplexes, all of which are aggregated into a central cluster, develop a true cluster, with no internal setback requirements beyond life safety. The open space is all preserved external to the actual construction areas. So my question generally is, what does a real cluster look like, or open space plan? So a quick thing I wanted to do is, this scale is very different. It's a 30 scale than the one underneath, and it's approximately 600 feet from here to here. So when I go back to this project, at 300 scale, 2 inches is 21 units. By way of perspective and area, a true cluster is far less land consumptive, and I think better accomplishes the intent of the zoning ordinance and master plan. So next question essentially is the language for a better development plan or pattern. Having worked in a whole bunch of municipalities, in both states actually, the planned residential development is a common term. Planned unit development is a common term. Basically, planned residential development, or PRD, it says for parcels zoned for only residential purposes, with a variety of potential housing types, single family, zero lot line, or townhouses, or multifamily. So there's an array of possibilities with basically no internal or unnecessary internal dimensional requirements. That allows you to bring everybody as close as you can, as appropriate, in a true cluster based on life safety. PUD is the same thing essentially, but in consideration of parcels that also include a mix of zoning beyond residential. It's a project, but it's a combination of commercial and residential, which would be a PUD. So basically, in terms of approach, how do you get to what that language is? I'll defer, of course, to staff, town, but typically it's what's your as-of-right density, your base density. The zoning currently, as I've already shared, is between roughly 100 and 110. You've seen how I've looked at that. And then the question is, on these parcels, how do you aggregate the development? I'm going to go back to the first plan. Essentially aggregate the development while preserving effectively all of this land that's already been dedicated to open space by virtue of the golf course. I think the final thing is, over and over again, allowing the different residential types that don't promote a land consumptive approach, not individual lots. And by the way, I'm going to say politely, I'm not talking about 75-foot tall buildings with so many units in them either, hypothetically. But you know, how can you put together a decent layout? And I think, Travis, let's put up the last one. decent layout that contemplates the land and the current as of right development. And so the, split up. Thank you. I might have missed that. Is old school with another planner in our office. I'm always using Trace, but it's kind of, I love the colors, but you can see the underlying grid. And when we say, okay, we put some townhouses over here, about 50 of them, and then some singles, maybe a townhouse here or there, another 50 of them. You can see the difference between what the rules require currently and what might take place for the same density with planned residential development or planned unit development language. The only other thing I would add is currently the clubhouse is here, contemplating the addition of a restaurant somewhere in this area because of the spectacular views that are available and how it would complement this project overall. But the quick synopsis is this is a rather large parcel. It's got an as of right density that that's already been zoned for something 100 or more. Current rules really don't work in terms of promoting cluster. So we just thought we'd take a shot at what might something that's much more land sensitive or more sensitive to the master plan goals, managing and directing growth, preserving open space and conservation, protecting water quality, maintaining rural character, promoting with special and infield, and then engaging in good planning principles. So after some back and forth, we do believe this applies to a number of other parcels in town, in addition to downtown where the infrastructure is with water and sewer. But for now, after speaking with staff, we felt it was best to come forward and suggest to the planning board you might consider this as an alternative to promoting a true open space subdivision.
The state of New Hampshire considers the PRD or the PUD as innovative land use.
Right, and we would have to adopt, or the voters would have to adopt it in March.
Can I ask a question? So I'm reading through the ordinance trying to find where this restriction is on making it a grid. I see similar language related to the open space, but not the occupied space.
405 basically says if you do a subdivision with more than 10 or more lots, you have to use the cluster.
Yes,
Zoning.
cluster, but in the club.
Go ahead, because I can
Yeah.
promise to.
So in the cluster, I'm reading the cluster, and I don't see anything that requires that grid. It seems to allow what you're talking about.
No, basically each zone has its own lot size and setback requirements. What cluster allows you to do is reduce those by 55%.
Yeah.
You still have to maintain individual lots, which approximately reduce to 1 acre. You have to do 1 acre lots based on how the cluster is written.
So you're
Setbacks
understanding
will still apply.
Really? Okay, that wasn't how I understood it.
I'm sorry, what was that, Rob?
Setbacks still apply.
Yeah.
But there has to be like fake lots inside. That's the piece that I'm not seeing that in the ordinance.
Has to be, it's not fake lots, it's real lots.
They'd be separately owned?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
one primary structure on one lot is all it allows.
Okay. I thought it was co-owned.
I think in general, when we've only touched on this ever so briefly in the past 2-3 years, we've known that the cluster development section in our ordinance is awful. It's terrible.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, well, we know that. And the R5, the confluence of the R5, the CO, and the CI here further points out additional craziness in our ordinance. How do you meld all that stuff together here? And so I could see a scenario where we go through a detailed analysis of all of that, and we come up with some decisions, I suppose, about what the ordinance, how the ordinance applies to your proposal here. I suspect it's not gonna be that. And you're almost, I think guaranteed, gonna be sitting in front of a bunch of variances that you're gonna have to get, which is another terrible situation to have to deal with. Because you're right, I think the master plan is not well served by the existing structure and requirements in these existing districts. You want-
Yeah, when you're done, Tim, you said something that's important I wanted to talk about.
Okay, well, go ahead.
Well, the variance question, so if we eliminate the, so let me reframe that. With a PRD or PUD, if you reframe the need for a conventional lot, if you say we can aggregate the buildings without the need for individual lots around a building with all the setbacks, any variance that may be related to the current ordinance for that goes away.
Well, yes,
Let me touch on one other thing.
Yeah.
So when I look at this, the only variances we might see might relate to a wetland or a wetland buffer. Otherwise, with a PRD, I don't see the basis for it.
but we don't have a PRD.
Understand, Tim. Yeah, right now, I think we're probably looking at, for this, what I really wanted to say, that. If we want to do something other than that, well, we can't exactly do that anyway. I think we're probably looking at at least several variances to facilitate something.
Yeah.
Well, unless we go with a 75-foot tall multi-unit
Right.
building.
That's a variance.
35 feet.
But it just reduces the number of variances if we do that.
So, because we don't have provisions in the existing ordinance to do PRD, PUD, whatever, to affect what you want to do here, hands are tied until we get a revised ordinance in front of the voters and they approve it. Unfortunately, that is going to take some time to do. We're in the middle of actually talking about rewriting 2, perhaps 3 of the districts just this next March to put in front of the voters. And haven't even given not 1 minute of thought to that area of town at this point. And here it is, July. So I'll end that train of thought and ask the question I meant to ask right off the bat. What are the interests here of the owners of this land in general?
So Tim, I don't necessarily want to speak for, I'm going to steal a graphic that's public document. I don't want to speak out of line, but basically the idea is to create a community, because right now it's just a golf course, if you will, a community that's self-sustaining, that makes the golf course viable, and to the extent as development of individual homes, because it'd be nice to have folks who use the facilities live there. As it evolves, I understand there's also a desire for a restaurant. So it's basically a golf community where the residents can be close by.
Okay.
May I do something? Because I saw this come down, and I don't want to say anything. This happens to be a client of mine as well. This is a downtown project in Main Street that needs that. So the zones you're talking about, Tim, are partly what we talked about with Rob and Ed, what we want to achieve with this language.
Is that the Vermeer property?
Yes.
I have a couple of quick questions. One is, you planning on building the homes themselves or just subdividing?
So I don't have a thought from the owner about where that may go, Kurt. I think the question, I can tell you what I think, but I think the question is, whatever she does needs to consider some sort of phasing, basically to address paying for the infrastructure associated with this project. And I assume that Kristen would want to maintain control no matter what for some time out. Especially if we're back to the conventional approach where we have tons of infrastructure, because it's going to take a lot of unit sales to pay for that. So,
Right, because the reason I'm asking is the cluster development ordinance is written such that a blank subdivision, where you just draw lines on the paper and then sell individual lots, is not required. It's not a requirement of the cluster. It's when you carve up the land into individual lots and then start constructing homes. It's what you're doing here. General provisions, section B, general development of 10 or more dwelling units, parentheses, as opposed to building lots. So it specifically distinguished the two.
I think there are probably people in the room that know better than me. I'm not an attorney, but when we do projects with PRDs or PUDs, it's typically some sort of a condominium filing with the state of New Hampshire. Not sure what the right word is. Carter may know, but it's a homeowners association.
Right, well, it speaks of that also for controlling the open space.
Yes.
And anyways, well, that's why I was wondering if you plan on actually being contracting to have the homes constructed and then sold by you as a developer versus someone just buys a lot, builds their own home on a one-off basis.
My gut reaction is the current ordinance makes development on a one-off basis highly implausible.
Well, I mean, that's a economic decision. I mean, if I'm reading the ordinance as it specifically states, differentiates between dwelling units as opposed to building lots. 10 or more dwelling units.
The constraint we face, though, is in the zoning districts we're looking at, is one primary structure on a lot.
Right, well, that's in all the
So we're stuck.
zones, that language.
Yep.
That's a separate issue from just cluster development. But then the other question I have is, I'm taking the golf course will still exist as a golf course?
But yeah, the vision ideally is that this would be not only maintained, the golf course would not only be maintained but enhanced, and the vibrancy of the residential community supporting it would make it even better.
Right, but the golf course is still going to be an active golf course.
That's the intent, yes, sir.
Yeah, I don't think you can call that part of the open space. It may not have, it's developed. Open space, and I believe I have to reread the language and the ordinance, how it's worded, but I believe is undeveloped open space.
Yeah, those phrases are scattered through all of that, where in order to come up with your density, you can't count certain areas of the land you own.
Right, yeah, only
And I
developable.
do not understand why that was set up that way. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, because the purpose was, you're decreasing the density on the lot, but you couldn't use that wetlands to build on anyways, no matter what you did. So you can't count that as a part of your acreage to build.
Yeah, so it was all about trying to limit the number of houses to be built.
Well, I mean, it's just
in those
more, it was
days.
more of a practical thing, because a standard subdivision, say you have a 10-acre lot, 5 of them are wetlands, you still can't build 10 homes on a 1-acre zone, because half of the lot is wetland.
Exactly, but in a cluster development, if it was designed properly, you should.
Well, it wasn't, that thought process that you're using wasn't thought about
No.
at the time it was written.
Jeff?
Yeah, so a couple things. I think there's precedent in this town recently for aggregating homes with one variance into one single large building without consideration of wetlands, if you will. So to the extent you could fit a large building on the site, the existing environmental conditions haven't been contemplated in the context of what the precedent is. Furthermore, the conservation zone, as I mentioned, does allow non-commercial outdoor recreation, which is frankly not defined. And so part of the broader question too is how that relates, because the CI zone allows all kinds of outdoor recreation. And then finally, the notion of development of the golf course. I don't know specifically what, let me just reframe that. This project exists, as far as I know, with no violations, so it's been built in accordance with appropriate environmental conditions at the time.
So it predated zoning the golf course itself?
I don't know the timing on the zoning, Tim.
Oh, I think it was built after zoning.
Oh, it was, okay.
Yeah, it was, the golf course was proposed and the zoning was changed to allow golf courses in the conservation districts. I believe there's a line in there, was maybe a special exception line, but there was a line put in there. And then went to town meeting to allow the golf course to go forward.
Jeff, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Have you incorporated the very new statewide, excuse me, zoning provisions regarding multifamily and commercial?
No, no, because the intent here is to say, what does your current zoning allow? And not only here, but Main Street and elsewhere in town, what makes sense for the town-wide, and that's why we went down this road. If the planning board said hypothetically, we don't want to go from our current rules to something that maybe is less land consumptive, then we might have to see how that fits into what's possible here.
I guess, shooting from the hip, you have 3 distinct lots, correct?
3 distinct zones. We have
Zones,
multiple lots.
Okay.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 5. We have at least 4 lots.
I guess if I were in your shoes, I might look at the fact that you can have multifamily in commercial, and I might merge some of those lots together, and I would also rely on the fact that if you have land in multiple zones, the least restrictive governs.
And it's-
Kurt says no?
I would have to read it, but I believe it's the more restrictive one. That's my gut feeling.
I would have to read it too,
Yeah,
but,
yeah. I know there is language in there.
yeah, there is.
But it hasn't come up for a while.
I thought I had a conversation with
Something to
you
think about
where it's
and
ac-
read.
where it's actually the line of where the zone separates is what's important.
That's how I've interpreted it since I've been here, is where the use is actually happening on them. It's in multiple zones. The Jakes. Some of it was in CB and some of it was R1.
Yeah.
The use that happened in the R1 had to have special approvals, but obviously CB didn't.
I think the housing that we're showing here falls entirely in the CI zone. I didn't do that on purpose, but I think that's true.
Yeah, and there was another question, was like where on your plat the line is, because the conservation is a 10-acre lot zone. For housing.
Yeah, it would affect, I think, could affect by 18 units maybe, could. And that would require carving out 10-acre lots, which doesn't make any sense, but
And the general interest is to have single-family homes, or no, you said a variety of different
Yeah,
styles, right?
yeah, Tim, personally, having done tons of projects, the lease land consumptive says, can we do a variety of uses that might say townhouses to multifamily? Not large buildings, preferably, but communities, little communities. And it may be that depending on what space is available, maybe there's a handful, 10 or so estate lots or something later down the road, but depends on what the overall density is.
Would the land be co-owned?
So my understanding, currently, there's one owner, there will be one owner who will own everything. And as, I know she's got to do fiscal workouts beyond something I can process to simply, having done a lot of this, to say, I have to sell so many units to pay for my infrastructure. And that's going to be the first nugget that it's going to have to be dealt with.
So we don't need to be talking about separate lots, right? We can talk about one big lot.
Well, I think short of variances for very large buildings or the multi-family possibly in the CI zone, I don't know how that gets us out of the current zoning that requires one principal structure on one lot, which I think is a huge problem.
Yeah, that's the variance being sought by Woodbury.
Well, wouldn't your multifamily in CI get you out of that?
Not unless I create a bunch of lots, David. So if I said multifamily, so if I put 10 families or 10 units in a building, I'd still have to have a formal lot to accommodate that based on. So a change that the board could consider is get rid of one principal structure on a lot. And that's a town-wide thing.
The one thing nobody's mentioned, I can't imagine how we would have a restaurant in conservation district. Like, without a variance, I don't see how that's a thing.
Right, And restrictions, what are permitted in special exception, I would have to read it, but I don't think restaurants.
It's also counter to the concept of conservation.
Right, yeah, that was.
Doesn't make sense.
May I respond to that? So the PUD concept is aggregating uses, and I think for commercial, there's a number of commercial permitted uses that are commercial for the CI zone that Kristen doesn't want to embrace. So the net result of what we're talking about makes this all conservation as well. It's that envelope around the development that I showed you on the other one. So conservation zone isn't the only place where open space should apply if you're thinking about a true cluster subdivision.
Well, one, we don't have a PUD, and I don't foresee us writing one to go to the next town meeting. Maybe in 2 years, we might have time and energy and thought to do that, along with a lot of other things. And the conservation district in our ordinance is a district with very specific rules and regulations. It's not a typical open space type of, it was written, that zone was created before the town adopted zoning. And that's why when you look at the tax maps and the zoning lines, East Bend is in the conservation district.
That's the funniest thing to me.
Because we didn't have it was just one district in town, and that was it, prior to the rest of the zoning.
Question? Dave, question? Jeff, could you shed some light on your comment that there'll be just one owner? If you need to sell these in order to support the infrastructure? But, so the people won't own their property? Will they all be condos? But they won't own them?
I don't know what the final owner, so right now there's only one owner, and I understand that she has to do a whole bunch of homework to figure out how she's going to develop things. And intuitively, because of the infrastructure costs, I intuitively think she's got to maintain total control over everything, whether it's a condo type sale or a homeowners association. in order to realize, return to cover the infrastructure.
Following up on Linda's question, don't condos or homeowners associations imply individual ownership?
I don't know how that works, David. Back to, so this one, I know this is one association, one HOA, homeowners association. I don't know how the individual families, whether it's lease or own, I don't know what the details are. I know there are a bunch of options, but I don't know.
They could set up different companies to own the individual buildings and still be owned by the same owner. There's all kinds of different
The underlying
arrangements.
land can be, even though individual lots, it's all, that lot is owned by a owner. The structure sitting on that lot is owned by owner B.
But owner B
You can have
can be the
those
same as
situations.
owner A.
And you don't need separate lots. If all.
Well, the ordinance says separate lots.
Right, ignoring the ordinance, like you can, if you have a condo association in any given town, like you own either from like the end of the stud in as the homeowner.
Yeah, but
or
doing
something
it as a
like that.
cluster,
Yeah,
it says separate lots.
I'm still very confused why the
Huh.
interpretation, but I intend to talk to you later to get educated.
Any more questions or comments from board members?
May I say that Rob and Ed's prodding, we'd like to talk to the Conservation Commission and possibly the Select Board as well, to basically frame, what does the master plan say and how do we best engage it? Please correct me, Rob.
But as you well know, the master plan's a non-binding document.
That's right.
As the town of Hanover found out.
Which we are attempting to implement is to the letter of the law as much as we possibly can. Right?
I missed the first part with you.
Well, you said it's a non-binding document. I just said we're attempting in our new zoning regulations to implement the
Yeah,
recommendations
right,
of the
right.
master plan.
Yeah,
As close to the letter of what they recommend as we can.
right. To be voted on at town meeting.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the catch.
Change that document.
So the, Kurt, I think hit the nail on the head here. The reality is, we have a plan in place right now to reformat the existing ordinance, essentially not changing much, nothing significant that would be of controversy, in order to get it passed. And this plan can change, of course, but this is what we're currently thinking to do. In addition to that, we're going to have at least 2 separate warrant articles. One to revamp the Route 4 commercial district, and one the downtown business district. And perhaps a third one to revisit the idea of the village, which that would incorporate Woodbury, for example. And that is an effort that is going to take a lot of work to get it to the voters and to win the votes to approve it.
Its very complexity is going to be a struggle for many of the voters.
It will be. And to add something like this, not this, but to make further changes to the CO and the CI and the R5, et cetera, to get to where I personally think we should be, but, to enable this to happen.
Tim, I think if you put Woodbury at the forefront, this is that. What we're talking about excludes the commercial uses on Woodbury, but otherwise it's the same discussion.
Yeah, so it's the one principal building for a lot feature.
Yeah.
So, we've said what you just said in the past. I think we're all on board with that's what we've talked about. But, I mean, rather than even think about EV for nows, the one principal building thing is so impactful that why don't we scooch that sooner?
Well, let's say we had a fourth warrant article that said, shall we get rid of the one provision in all zones? That would be a simple warrant article and a simple one to understand what it means and applies, I think. Would that pass? I don't know, because a lot of people are not gonna like this, just for other reasons.
But we don't know, and we won't know until we try it. It's an easy test.
Question.
Paul?
Jeff, at this point, the one building per lot restriction is the showstopper. Is that a correct statement?
I think, Paul, it's two things. It's the requirement that you have to have a conventional lot and one principal building on that lot. It's those two things I would couple.
So when I think of alternatives to make such a project move forward, is it ridiculous to look for that variance on those two provisions and bring it before the zoning board?
Well, look at what Woodbury's up against.
Yeah.
Oh, that's neighbors, I think, too.
Well, but the basic, one of the 5 criteria for variance is they've got to essentially prove they've got a hardship. And how can you have a hardship when you could put 60 units in one building and make a ton more money versus what they're proposing? So it's just,
I think I get the message. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Appreciate your time, folks. Really do.
All right, thanks, Jeff.
Thank you guys.
I have a comment if I can.
Sure.
Uh,
You want to state your name
Yeah, I'm Jay
for the
Shea.
record?
I'm Jay Shea, I'm kind of representing the owner's interest, because, you know, 'cause we're very familiar with the Montcalm property here in the town of Benton, obviously. But the statement of just said something about put 60 units up there and make a ton of money, or as opposed to this. It's not necessarily true, because there's a lot of existing infrastructure out there now that was put in back when the golf course was built. Roads there's a fill pond there to help them, you know, during the irrigation system. There's quite a ways off the beaten path. There's maintenance facilities down there. And Jeff's firm did a really good job of designing those townhouses and the housing around the existing infrastructure. So that's clustered around, there's already primary power down those roads, and other utilities can go right down those roads, which is really going to simplify those things and make the cost per unit much more affordable by putting more units in closer to the existing infrastructure. So as opposed to scattering 60 houses all over this thing where there is no infrastructure, and it's a tough site because there's a lot of ledge up there. So the blanket statement that 60 units for a lot and make a lot more money is not necessarily true in this case.
60 units in one building.
Oh, yeah. You said that, I missed that part.
Little caveat.
Yeah, and I don't think that would ever fly up there anyway, you know?
Understood.
You know, but
Yeah.
it does, the whole design does minimize the impact on the site up there for sure, because there's infrastructure in place that's taken advantage of.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I wish we weren't in this situation with such a lousy zoning ordinance to
I know.
work with.
What's an owner like Kristen's supposed to do? I mean, she can't invest a ton of money into a design that she doesn't know is gonna, you know, it's be a great thing for the town of Enfield, but, you know, you can't expect her to invest a bunch of money into a design not knowing if it's gonna get passed. You know, 'cause then that's all wasted money, and all the money that she spent on the engineering costs and stuff doesn't get
Question too, when you're on.
That's very
Yeah,
common.
I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, for sure.
And, we tried this past spring to maybe do too much by way of revising the zoning regs. And from what I've been told, for big changes, sometimes it has to go before the voters 2, 3, 4 times before they get the understanding of the benefits of the change.
Right.
You're certainly allowed, and I would personally encourage you to go before the ZBA and try to get some variances to do what you would like to do and what I think this board thinks would be a much better development than our regs currently allowed. But our hands are tied to the current set of regs.
I really couldn't see what was going on because I was behind the board, but there was, somebody said something about, could we just change it to do away with the one dwelling per lot in lot size? Is that something that could be done without, a major change to the zoning requirements?
Well, it would be a warrant article that asks the voters that question.
Oh, so we'd still go for the...
Yeah, yeah.
That's pretty simple, isn't it?
Yeah, you'd think.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean,
Simple to present.
Yeah.
you could have X number of people that don't know what the number is off the top of my head, petition a warrant article. 25? Yeah. Get 25 people to sign on to it. It would have to go before the voters.
And the town will also help you with that process if you want to.
The what, say that again?
If you go to the town office and ask about that process, they will help you through it as well.
All right.
But I certainly would be favorable to having a discussion at this board about that additional warrant article.
I have a couple of questions, comments.
Go ahead.
Travis Boucher, born and raised in Enfield, former chair of the Energy Committee, and also a member of the MF Public Safety Building Whitney Hall Committee. And just observing this meeting for the second time, actually, it just seems like there could be some clarification, but my main question was, does it have to be an all or nothing proposal when it's proposed to the town, when it goes to the voters? Or, how does that work? Can you just propose certain portions of this, what we're trying to do with the PRD, PUD? Because it sounded like it needs clarification just based on observation and all of your comments.
So any warrant article, it says in the warrant article explicitly, change this law text from this to this, in summary.
Is there any surrounding text or relying on the voters to do their homework on that?
Well, everything you vote on has to be clear. There's actually laws around making sure that people know what they're voting on.
Yep.
And which is why there was so much documentation in the
Right, so do they
2026.
see a proposal like in the booth? Or are they supposed to have seen that before time?
In the 2026 example, because it was so extensive, there was supplementary material, and
Okay.
the actual text said you can refer to this.
Cool.
But like in terms of like the all or nothing, the first thing we want to pass is the rewrite,
Sure.
which changes section numbers. And the reason that needs to pass is because every other law that we try to pass needs to reference those section numbers. So if you wanted to introduce a section that was, I'm going to make us miss it, the acronym PRD, make it right. So if you wanted to introduce a PRD section, it would be its own section number potentially, and that could have all that text in it.
Yeah.
But something like the open, one primary dwelling will have to reference in each zone, section 401.A, blah, 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 strike this line, section, da, da, et cetera.
So essentially, we're trying to restructure our whole table of contents, essentially.
That's the
for
quote, easy,
Right,
easy.
like a code book, sections reserved for one thing, and then you can back forward.
Right.
Interesting, okay. That's really all I was curious about. And generally, how do the voters generally vote objectively, or what is in your
Well, did you vote
opinion?
objectively?
How did you vote?
I honestly, you're
Did
getting
you come
police
to any hearings? Which
No,
were
but I have
well-
small children, so that's my get out of jail. But from this point forward,
You could
Yeah.
have looked it up online. You could have read the minutes of our meetings.
I absolutely
You
could have,
watched
and
us.
I, apologetically did not.
Look up
So-
planning board and you'll
Yeah, but there's
see
always a time to
all
start.
the things that Rob sends
Absolutely.
out to people.
Oh, Rob's great. He's the best meeting
Rob's
host
great.
ever.
We just pile it on him.
Right, and I took over Defiance Electric, and he still hasn't retired because I won't let him. But yeah, we had a lot going on, so I tried to get involved. We ended up doing the design and install for the electrical on Whitney Hall and public safety, so been very involved with the town and definitively invested in the future of this town. I lived in Portsmouth for 10 years and moved back here to live 3 houses down from them, so my kids can walk down there. Beautiful. And we plan to be here for a while, and it's nice to know we could go in the right direction. We're actually at an advantage to other places. We almost have a blank slate to work on. And I think that's something to look forward to. And the last question was, have you guys engaged a team to develop these? Or does the planning board develop these themselves in your free time? Or do you engage somebody that does it for a living?
See, that's the other difficult kernel to crack here, is that we had a grant that provided some technical expertise of several tens of thousands of dollars over the last 2-3 years. Don't have that anymore, so we have to be very careful about, you word something, you change a word or two in here, and it has implications.
Absolutely.
Legal review of what you're just proposing to change is important, and does it comply with generally accepted standards of zoning and planning and all that stuff?
I'd be willing to donate a model lighting ordinance to the cause, if that's, if that matters.
Well, send it on. We certainly look.
I'd have to write it first, but I will.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I was gonna make the comment, you mentioned several times a PUD. I'm familiar with the concepts, but Enfield ordinance doesn't have one.
Yeah. Right, it sounds like
It has to be
education
written,
is
it has
gonna
to be
be part of
written.
this too. Yeah.
And we don't have the time and energy to write something like that as board members, because we're working on these other projects.
Of course.
If you or somebody you know wants to volunteer their time and present some proposals, you can either go present it through the planning board or the petition warrant article method.
It does raise an interesting question. Jeff, do you know, just off the top of your head?
Yeah, I'm just curious how that
How many
works.
communities
Can
have
somebody just
PRD?
toss something in there?
So, a number. So with municipal water and sewer, it's typical. And I don't, Ed told me not to make any specific comments about municipalities until he tells you where to look.
That makes sense.
I believe you.
Yes.
So it is a common, very common thing.
Yeah, I think Lebanon has one,
Yeah.
Hanover probably has one, other bigger towns, I'm
Plainfield.
sure.
Plainfield has one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's
You can almost
language out
pick what you
there.
like.
It just matter what fits for Enfield.
Right.
I mean, there's model language that, we could look at, or you could look at, and maybe it needs to be tweaked a little bit, but it's not like we'd be reinventing the wheel.
Right.
Right, yeah, certainly. Somebody else already blazed that trail.
Yeah, Clyde, I didn't want to talk anymore, but I think you all have really touched on some key issues with the principal structure and the conventional lot. And if we didn't get anything else planted as a seed tonight, I just really appreciate you guys embracing that. Thank you.
And Jeff, please remember that the wheels of government
I know.
go ridiculously slowly, and bear with us.
He knows.
All right.
Great
Well,
to see you.
thanks for coming in. We appreciate
Absolutely.
hearing about your proposal.
Thank you.
And I guess on behalf of the board, I would say, keep working at it
Keep you
and
posted.
keep us in the loop.
Thank you.
Okay, we have spent an hour on conceptuals. John, can you punt a select board report?
Sure, we met on Monday, and I got some notes here. We've faced a few little blips in the couple departments. But we have hired now a person who's going to be the new town clerk, and a person who's going to be the new assistant town clerk. Both, of course, have to live in the town of Enfield. We're also in the position of having to hire a new highway supervisor and an assistant groundskeeper. So this is all, churns things around. And also, a couple months ago, we hired a, first time we've had one, financial director. And that's gonna be crucial, I think, for the ongoing work of the town. We're up to, we talked quite a bit about shoreline properties over the last year. And we're up to 91% compliance with the testing of septic systems of shoreline properties. That's been a huge improvement.
How many?
91% compliance.
On all the major lakes?
In Enfield, yes. Does not include rivers.
Right.
Yep. We're facing a real issue on Oak Grove Street. If you've driven up there, you can see the Jersey barriers, and they themselves are about ready to fall into the river. And chunks of the road will follow. It happened once before, I think in one of my very first years on the select board. And it was very expensive, and I think it's going to be more expensive this time. We've been told it's probably going to be $75,000 just for the engineering study. And we have no idea at this point if we can get a grant for the real project. We put out an RFQ for the Crystal Lake watershed plan. That is the next step. Now that we have the Mascoma Lake watershed plan, we're going to go to Crystal Lake. A real emphasis, I think, on the environment, and particularly the lakes, which are so important to the town. We've had quite a bit of discussion about the Rice Road property. This is property that abuts Whaleback. It's a house that is ready for demolition. It's a nice piece of acreage. Whaleback would love to get a hold of it, but we've decided, in fairness to the taxpayers, we're gonna put it up for the RFP, request for proposals, and we'll probably sell it to the highest reasonable bidder. And I think, we had a rather lengthy Grafton County budget review from Wendy Piper, and the bottom line is the Grafton County folks have indicated an 8.78% increase in that budget. And they had to fight like...
That's not what they told us.
They had to fight like crazy to get it down.
They told us it was 3-point-some odd% increase.
Well, I thought that was...
We'll talk about that offline, John.
All right, okay, yes. And that's it.
I have a question.
Yes.
A topic that's high interest for the planning board is, do you have any idea when the Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners will reach decisions about the water capacity study, what you're going to require for Laramie Farms, et cetera?
I don't.
Not particulars, but just the schedule.
I don't.
Okay.
I thought we had a study, but there's been a lot of pushback from different entities, and I think we're going to ask for more information. I anticipate this is going to happen pretty soon, because we realize there's some time limits here. Yes. And basically, Ed and Jim Taylor are shepherding that process.
Well, question on the Rice Road projects.
Yeah.
Selling. I know Whaleback, I've been following them in a video and minutes, whatever, and their desire to purchase that property as in a butter. But would it be the nonprofit section of Whaleback that receives the exemption, tax exemption, or would it be another portion of Whaleback entity?
I'm not sure that they're different portions.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know
when
how
we
this-
give a tax abatement, it's to Whaleback.
Yeah.
And that's all I can speak to.
Yeah, I'm just thinking in terms of who gets sold to, if you want, and if you want to put it back on the tax rolls,
Yeah.
and then it goes to someone who gets an exemption, it's really not going back on the tax rolls.
Well, we do have a final say in who we
Yeah,
sell
yeah,
it to.
yeah,
Well,
yeah, that was
Yeah.
just something I was thinking about.
that's a valid point.
Any other comments or questions for John? Rob?
I'll bang out a
Land
couple
use
quick.
report.
Yep, bang out a couple real quick. Number one, ZBA will hold a continuance on, it was up on the board here, on the Woodbury Farm application on Main Street, 130 Main Street.
Yeah.
We're actually gonna be holding a site visit. This is on Tuesday of next week. The 14th, I believe is the date, at 5 o'clock. And then the hearing will continue here at 7. That's when the ZBA meets. That is variance application for the single principal building per lot. That's what he's asking for to begin with. As you've seen, he's probably seen that map. Just had it on the table here a minute ago. We do have a court hearing scheduled for the Christie Pierce 111 New Hampshire Route 4A variance application denial that we did a couple of months back. That is going to the Superior Court at Hillsborough North in Manchester on August 11th at 10 a.m. I'm going to be going down for that.
Can you just tell me where that is exactly?
Yeah, so it's a blue house on 4A. It's kind of on a neat little point, very pretty. It was recently completely replaced. It was a guy named Mikulonic who did the work, a guy that used to own Carpet Mill, tore down a sort of a ramshackle place and put up a really nice place in its exact footprint. It's sold twice since then. Each owner successfully has wanted to put a garage on. And so they've both come because they don't have any room on the lot with setbacks to the lake and to the Route 4A. And both times the ZBA said no. We let them come back for another application because it was a different spot. And this new applicant wanted to add an ADU. So it was enough of a difference from the original application that was denied that we let it come forward, but it too was denied. And the applicant doesn't think it should have been denied and has taken us to court. And so we start out with the discovery process where we share what's known as the certified record, which is all of the paper materials that relate to the case, every email, every application, minutes, agendas, everything. And that gets shared with the attorneys from both sides and then goes to the court, and then we have the hearing where the judge will ask lots of questions of both attorneys for both sides. And then within a couple of months, we'll have a decision from them, whether they sustain our decision or whether they remand it back to us for more hearings, or whether they side with the applicant and give them a variance. And so we'll see. I think we got a real strong case there. It's kind of one of those things like, if that doesn't hold up, then pretty much everything we do is kind of in question. So that'll be very interesting.
And it's putting a big dent in our legal budget, I think.
Sure, absolutely. Lawyers, $350 an hour. I am now the official new board member for Advanced Transit. Selectman.
You get free rides?
Yeah, exactly. That's the benefit. I get free rides. Everybody gets free rides. Advanced Transit, we've always had a representative from Enfield on that board. Jim has done it. He's finally termed out, Jim Taylor. Term limits, I think he did 15 years or so.
Yeah.
It was a long time. So I'm now their new member. We had the Advanced Transit annual meeting. It's a very interesting time for them. They've got a change in leadership. Their previous executive director left. They hired a new executive director who didn't last 3 months, and she was let go, and now we have an interim. And so I'll be able to keep you guys in the loop on all things transportation in the Upper Valley. As you know, the Advanced Transit is a very, very successful public transportation entity. It's the second largest in the state of New Hampshire. Obviously, it's a bi-state entity because it has its headquarters in Wilder. that actually works to their favor because Vermont is much more supportive of public transportation than New Hampshire is in terms of money. But they just do incredible work. They're hoping to get over 1 million riders this year, and they're close. So that tells you something. I mean, they're very, very busy, and of course they're serving Enfield. They come through the Blue Line, comes through several times a day, and heads to Canaan and back and forth. And you'll see those bus stops. I think the busiest bus stop in the Upper Valley is right in front of City Hall, followed closely by Hopkins Center and Kilton Library. Those are the three busiest.
Yeah.
And they're very busy, as you know. Those are you'll see 3 or 4 buses at the same place. And so that's new. Just going down my little list here. Talked about the ZBA. We had a session this last month, June, of Land Use Day for the Enfield Citizens Academy. Went really well. We had it here. It was the 3rd session. We've already had a couple before that. And next month, or this month, now we're in July, will be Public Works. Jim is going to be doing solid waste and sewer and water as his class. And then we do more Public Safety Day, Town Office Day. It's really kind of a neat little program, very successful. We've heard really good feedback from the people that have attended last year, and this year's class seems to really be enjoying it. I know the selectmen seem to be very happy with it as well.
It's been very popular.
Yeah.
Get a lot of positive feedback.
I'm proud of it. It wasn't our idea, we sort of stole it, but we certainly made it our own, and we have 17 members of the class this year. And there's a lot of really neat people on that, including some people that you guys are very familiar with, so kind of shows a little bit there. I attended NHMA, New Hampshire Municipal Association, last week, had a legislative wrap-up talking about all the legislation that has been adopted and how it will impact towns. I was obviously most interested in the land use portions of that, but there was several other things that are applicable. That is available as a recording if anybody wants to see that and get brought up to speed. I also attended the Upper Valley Business Alliance had a session in June called the Upper Valley Tourism and Economic Insights, which was very interesting. We were participants last year in a study that was grant funded that worked with UNH Extension. It was kind of neat. They did a little dual state partnership with West Virginia. And so we had a delegation of West Virginia Extension and a delegation of New Hampshire, and we did a sort of trade where our delegation went to see them and their delegation came to see us. They did come to Enfield. I met with them for a day. They were very, very interested in the Shaker stuff. They actually stayed at the Shaker Museum. And so this was sort of a follow-up to that. If anybody has any interest, I could show you the presentation. Very interesting. I mean, obviously, we're not a huge tourist economy here, but it is substantial. So that was sort of the takeaway that I had. What we have here. Let's see. Upper Valley Tourism. I sent you guys, probably saw it earlier today. We're up to 81 building permits issued to date, down from 91 at this time last year. It seemed like we were riding pretty close to even until the last month or so. So I don't know what's contributing to that. I would say there's a certain amount of economic uncertainty that we're dealing with this year that may be contributing.
Only one of those was new construction, if I read it correctly.
In terms of new house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and we, just to reemphasize,
What was that?
to reemphasize, we need to know what we started the year with in terms of housing units and what our net increase is and will be over the course of the year.
Yep, that's data that I can get from the building inspector.
You've said that a number of times.
Yep.
We need that data.
Yeah, I'll get you a synopsis from him. The exciting thing there is, and I've kind of been holding off, the new software that we're literally in the process of rolling out.
Okay.
I think we'll have many more tools than our Excel spreadsheet does right now, that we can hit a button and give you guys much more complete data and metrics and all that kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. And then John already stole my thunder with the compliance on the septic system regs. And Bill Griffin is to be commended. He's been very much involved in helping to coordinate the sort of bulk buy for the inspections. If you get 8 people together, the cost becomes very reasonable per per house. I think it's like $250 if you get 8
It's a
people.
little bit more now this year, but.
Okay. We've been successful at getting groups of residents together to sort of group buy the service. And I've been really proud, as I think John is as well, of Enfield's work on that. That has been tremendous. And at some point, I'd love to see it go townwide. I mean, I just really think, it's just crazy to me that we have to go through all the hoops and rigmarole when you build a new system, that they just sort of forget about you after you build it. You can have a septic system completely unmaintained for 50 years, they don't care. So, I mean, it should be some kind of follow-up, if you ask me. And that's what we're doing with the shoreland properties. But it should be everybody, because, I mean, as Crystal Lake people will tell you, it could be coming down the river into the lake, right? So.
Things happen between them all.
Absolutely. So, and I continue to do a lot of zoning enforcement, letters going out tomorrow, more junk cars. As you guys probably can relate, there's just constant. I don't know what it is about cars and people, they just pile up. So we'll continue to work on that. There's several active enforcements we're working on. It's slow, but it's sure. At some point, if we don't get full compliance from the people that we sent the letters to, we refer it to our town attorney for legal action. And then you may actually end up paying a court-imposed daily fine for as long as you want to sit on those junk cars.
Rob, how many of the junk cars are allowed on the lot?
Just one. That is the max. Once you hit 2, that's an illegal junkyard. And again, it has to be essentially a car that is not registered and able to be used for its original purpose, which is driving down the road. Some people will try to come in, the car that's up on blocks, get that registered, then you can't come after me for it. But if it's, we can see that it's not intended for use on the road, that's not gonna suffice. You gotta, there is some exclusions. If you wanna put your junk cars inside, barn or a shed or a shop, you can have many, as long as they're inside, undercover. We just don't want them sitting outside dripping into the soil, That's what we were just talking about, water quality. So it's a challenge. And, we try to protect neighbors from neighbors, because neighbors don't want to be like fighting with each other and be blamed for sicking the town on. And then we also have the people that want to use the town as the hammer to pound on their neighbor. And so you have to kind of balance those interests, let's just say. And that's all I got, unless you guys have any other questions.
We got one quick question on the Main Street projects, that farm, something farm. They're only applying for a variance for the one structure per lots?
Yes, to start with, that's kind of the existential question for them.
Okay.
It sort of determines, do I go down this road, or this road?
Okay, because it was something prior to these folks coming in, I was reading through the open space cluster development ordinance, and that project fits the description of.
Setbacks are too much.
That's what's limiting there.
Yeah, he already addressed that.
Yep.
Setbacks are too great in the cluster.
No, but the cluster development ordinance which says you shall do a cluster if you meet this. More than 10 buildings on a single lot, on a lot.
He's not proposing that. So we're not gonna debate that tonight, right here.
No,
So he's actually shown me 2 other proposals for his land, including traditional subdivision.
yeah,
Which
but
would just create lots.
what I'm just saying is that what he's currently proposing meets the requirement to be a cluster development, open space cluster development. When you read the.
Let's don't get into the details of that.
Uh-oh. Just read.
We gotta
read the
move on.
opening
Let's
paragraph.
move on.
Kurt, let's move on.
Yeah,
Next is legislative update. Rob mentioned that municipal association has a compilation of all of the legislative work of the past session. They are working on a written version focused on land use, and I hope to be able to present that at our next meeting. So what I thought I would do today, rather than talk about individual pieces of legislation, is talk about HB 399, the Commission to Study the Zoning Enabling Act, also known as the Commission to Justify Getting Rid of Zoning. They held a public hearing on the 22nd of last month. Their main speaker was Charles Gardner, who is the person who is from the Mercatus Institute. He's the guy that poured the Kool-Aid into the cups of the Housing Committee that says, let's have statewide zoning and not very much of it. So much of his presentation discussed reforms made to zoning enabling acts in other states. He said that no state measures or determines whether master plans align with existing zoning ordinances. The committee chair asked how the state could more easily prohibit actions by local governments in their zoning and planning authorities. And Mr. Gardner said that the establishing reforms like those in Montana and Massachusetts would limit local authority and make it clearer what Representative Alexander described. He showed Montana's existing zoning laws establishing minimum standards and requirements for which uses local governments must permit in specific zoning districts or related to specific uses. Much of his presentation explained how different states have limited local decision-making over zoning. And he stated that the original state zoning enabling acts were too vague and allowed too much room for differing interpretations and local discretion. One of the reps on the commission asked whether previous reforms cited in other states were paired with infrastructure funding. Mr. Gardner said he believed none of those were tied to funding infrastructure as a means of increasing housing. Senator Reardon mentioned initiatives related to minimum lot sizes that should be completed in New Hampshire, so there won't be a, quote, 8-acre minimum lot size requirement. Someone else said RSA 674, that chapter is disorganized, could be shortened and clarified. It can be very hard for ordinary people to understand what towns and cities can and can't do relative to different uses and types of ordinances. He may have a point there, but that's why we have zoning administrators like Mr. Taylor. Let's see, somebody said recently passed laws and unresolved local policy questions create a lot of ambiguity that makes it hard for towns and cities and developers to determine what is permitted on a lot. A judge, Michael Class or Classy, I'm not sure how he spells or pronounces his name, mentioned that these issues are not new. The court regularly uses existing legal frameworks to determine legal intent and what is permitted. And basically all his cases are based on interpretation of a local zoning ordinance and on whether that interpretation is correct and does not violate state law. Question was asked of Mr. Gardner about how the state can enforce new zoning laws and how other states do it. Mr. Gardner cited examples of how other states ensure compliance with statewide zoning laws, some punitive and others offering incentives. And that's the gist of that hearing. I guess it doesn't sound really supportive of local decision-making. So that's where that is. Minutes, June 10th. Let's put them on the table. Open for discussion.
Got a big list.
What?
I got a big list.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the first 10 minutes of the recording, the audio is missing, so I'm just gonna mention that for, so excuse the person writing them. Lines 5 and 8, Bill Griffin was present, Ben Jorgensen was absent, had those reversed. Line, so do I just go through these fast, right?
Yeah.
Line 26, I believe we need to record the votes on the minute approvals. For May 13th, the vote was unanimous to approve as amended. For May 27th, line,
What minutes are we looking at?
the ones that we didn't get from Rob.
Well, if I don't
You-
have
you
one
said
from
June
Rob,
10th, right?
I can't follow.
I said June 10th because that's what is on the agenda.
Yep, and
And-
those have not been approved yet.
And we do not have copies of those.
Correct.
So we can't do anything.
So we can't do anything with June 10th. So let's move on to June 24.
Could do.
Those minutes are open for discussion. That was the Laramie Farm hearing a couple of weeks ago.
In no particular order.
Tim, go ahead.
Line 66. The developer is not looking to brightly light all of the buildings. I think all of should be stricken. The phrase was intended to say he's not going to brightly light the buildings. It sort of implies that some might be brightly lit. And I didn't get that from this statement. Yes or no?
Saying strike the word all.
Strike all of.
All of.
Well, what did he actually say?
I think he said
Hey,
they
yeah.
are going to brightly light the buildings.
I agree with you.
The building singular,
No, the buildings.
buildings.
If you include all, you're saying that like literally all of them are green lit. There could be one like really brightly lit one, which is not what he said. He said none of them is brightly lit.
This was in reference to the temperature of the light bulbs, which I think you brought up.
Well, I did, but just brightly lit means, in addition to the temperature of the light, the number of fixtures that's shining on the building, that kind of thing.
Oh, right, he did say that too. Yeah.
He referenced the temperature in the lighting standard when he said that, which was.
Below 3,000 K.
Yes.
I don't know the meaning of that. Line 74, regarding snow storage, will be designed to Green Snow Pro standards. Well, that's not, Snow Pro doesn't provide the standards for the site design. They provide the standards for plowing snow. So,
And salt application.
and salt application. So this isn't applicable really.
I think there was a comment from Verdantis that they were going to take a look at the snow storage and the drainage from the snow piles. I think that was part of their letter. Can somebody confirm that, Rob?
Yeah, they're looking at it right now because there were some changes made to their plan. Verdantis is re-reviewing the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he said. And I think therefore it should remain in the minutes. And we know that Verdantis is taking a look at the revised runoff from snow storage.
What he was talking about with Green Snow Pro was not the site design standards, or the way the
Right.
site was designed.
Right.
So I think we should just eliminate, the sentence should read, regarding snow storage, and drop down, some of the snow storage areas in the site have been moved to eliminate cross pavement drift. We can just strike out the rest of that.
But he did refer to the green snow. the
He
Green
did,
Snow
well,
Pro.
if we want to put that in there, what he said was, the maintenance crew would be trained in Green Snow Pro standards, and that they would
Right.
use those to,
That is what he said.
yes.
And if that's what he said, I don't see any reason why we should strike that from the minutes.
We just need to reword it.
And your proposed rewording is, again, please?
Well, I would say regarding snow storage, some of the snow storage areas on the site have been moved to eliminate cross pavement drift. And if you wanted to address the snow, well, GSP, you could say something to the effect, maintenance staff will use Green Snow Pro standards.
Maybe this doesn't rise to the level of needing correcting, because it doesn't relate to our board and our decisions.
Well, it does too.
It does?
Oh, yeah.
No, so snow storage is something that we look at.
Well, I meant the fact that it's Green Snow Pro standards.
That's not really our purview, I don't
Right,
think.
that's what I mean.
It's a minor thing.
Board consensus, do we want to accept Tim's suggested edit?
I think you need both sentences, the one he said and then the one you said. And then that is a complete record.
Okay, Ben? I mean, Bill, I'm sorry.
I agree.
Paul?
Yes, sir.
John?
I'm staying out of this one.
Wise. Linda? All right. Let's go with the, I guess, the majority who seem to favor both concepts. I don't know if we call them sentences, but it depends how they're written.
Okay, so then it would read, regarding snow storage, drop the next phrase, some of the snow storage areas on the site have been moved to eliminate cross pavement drift, which is true. Maintenance crews will use Green Snow Pro standard.
That works for me.
Uh,
Everybody happy with that change?
Line 130. I think I'm gonna take it a little confused here. The board reviews Verdantis comments. In terms of the public comment letters, well, there's only one letter received. That was Gwen's. And so, I don't know, comments in the one public comment letter received, perhaps.
Didn't you have one as well? Am I misremembering?
No.
No, okay.
Then he goes, the first, probably should say, the first comment deals with minimizing construction traffic. Each of the paragraphs that follow, like on 141, the next public comment, just strike the word letter. 152, likewise, 160, same thing. 166, same thing. Except they put the word comment in there. 167, 175, the next public comment mentions the land around the canal. I think that Amendment 182 fixes that. Oh, 205.
So 205 talks about a letter, and you were talking about the letter from Gwen.
Yeah, so one letter from Gwen, and each of the previous paragraphs dealt with that one letter.
Yeah.
She just had different bullet points in each one.
Ah. So remove the next public letter and replace it with the public letter.
I suppose it could have said the dessert letter.
Anything else,
I
Tim?
didn't find anything else.
Okay, anybody else have any
I got a few.
comments?
So minor things, line 42, there's an extra sentence now, just a typo. Line 57, also with minor typo, a previous comments, there's too many S's. Line 82, there's an extra 2 before development. My first material comment is line 84.
Back up one.
Yep.
Back up one.
Oh, say it again. Line 82, there was an extra 2 before development. And then line 84, it says rather than there may be an additional option for this. So we did, Kurt basically brought up that there is a sidewalk right-of-way, am I using the right lingo?
Yeah.
Sidewalk right-of-way that connects to Maple Street from the proposed development. And that could potentially be used. I just think we should include that because it is a potential solution to a problem that's being discussed.
It's there. Very good mention right there.
Line 117.
We're gonna need words to put in there.
We're gonna need words. What did you say?
We're always a recording.
Well, it's gotta be paraphrased anyway, so.
Right.
I brought up, I mentioned that the town has a sidewalk right-of-way already existing on Maple Street, is that the correct street?
Right.
I believe so.
Yeah. That could be not reintroduced, reactivated, I guess is a word.
Repaved, maybe?
Well, more like reactivated
Yeah.
because it's under grass.
Mhm.
I mean, it was built at one point and then ceased to be maintained.
Restored? Restored.
Restored?
Yeah.
We've been corrected, no, we've not corrected, but when that comes up, people on Maple Street do mention that the sidewalk's grown over, but to reuse it, you'd have to cut down their maple trees, because the maple trees have grown up.
Through the sidewalk?
Well,
Well, if they're not growing, it's still within the right of way.
yeah,
Yeah, so, I mean, I haven't walked it myself in a long time.
We don't wanna get into.
Yeah,
debating that tonight.
okay, so
Yeah.
I'm just
So
responding.
Mr. Godhart mentioned that the town has an existing sidewalk easement along Maple Street, which could be restored, period. You don't need to say anything more than that?
No,
Okay.
that was,
Line 117, there was a discussion that went at length, so I think we should include it, where the gate, the location of the gate will be on Laramie Farms property to allow the abutting property owner to transit their property without a key.
You're on 117?
Yeah. It was in the discussion of paragraph 117.
Read me what you think that should say.
Oh, it froze the emergency, yeah, access path. So I think it should say, the location of the emergency access gate will be located on Laramie Farms property to allow abutting property owners to transit their property without a key.
Everybody agree with Mr. Carter's suggestion? Okay.
Line 158, Kurt commented that he believes this requirement is intended to apply for abutting commercial properties.
It was reference to the abutter wanting a driveway curb cut off the access roads.
Future access, I think. I don't think she asked for a curb cut, she asked for future access, the possibility of future access.
Well, just try to help. I don't know what her,
I thought she mentioned she did want something,
you want a
it was a
physical, I
little bit more
interpret it
than
as a
just
physical,
asking for access.
you want
I
a
believe.
physical connection is my interpretation.
That's what she asked for. Yeah. And we said this is a private matter between
Yeah, right, it's, yeah.
between
And my
the
comment
developer
was,
and the abutter.
my comment was, it was referencing a line in the regulation, the zoning, that was written for
Commercial.
two
Yeah,
commercial
yeah.
parking lots, essentially, or a town sub-road to a town road
Mhm.
being connected.
So then what you said should probably be included as well, because that, we've said that that's not our purview.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, which he is requesting specifically, yeah.
Mr. Miller stated that it appears that the abutter should discuss this with the applicant's attorney.
Okay, so that's already there.
Yeah, it's already there in lines 156.
Okay.
So what do we need to add?
Well, maybe nothing if it's already. You think it's good? How it is?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 156 and 7, Nate Miller's comment kind of summarizes the state of art.
I missed that. 164, Gwen Desert suggested that some of the wells may be valuable as historical structures and that it would be worth considering preservation of the wells.
Well, you know, her letter is actually part of the public record of this project.
Was it in there?
Well, what I mean is, I don't know how detailed we need to summarize her letter in the minutes.
Okay.
That's just a question.
Yeah, I mean, if people are concerned, they can go back to the source document.
Yeah.
I know what well she's talking about because I've seen it. It has a large saw blade over it, and it's a very beautifully built-up well. And the saw blade is just a little askew so you can see in. And that's what they said they plan to bulldoze and just sort of have that be part of the wetland.
Is there historic significance, Linda?
I don't know.
Mr. DeVay didn't seem to think so, David.
What?
I think
No,
Mr.
he
DeVay-
certainly did
He did
not.
not seem to think that they had historical significance. They were hand-dug
Well,
wells.
His
Yeah,
reference
it
was
is
to
a
any
hand-dug well.
dug well. Didn't have historic. That's a matter of interpretation.
Right, I'm just repeating what he
Yeah,
said.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we can revisit that with them when the time comes, but, you know,
Okay, line 173, just clarifying, for a permit for a previous property owner that was never advanced.
Oh, adding for a previous property owner?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Line 196, I'm just removing that sentence because it's an interpretation that I don't think happened at the meeting. This means that the southernmost lot will need to be considered for multifamily units by right.
wait a minute. Mr. Frog wasn't there.
Mr. Frack was there on
You were
Teams.
online, okay, gotcha, sorry.
That's the next sentence. So the sentence previous to Mr. Frack, I don't
What
think we
line
ever-
number was that again?
line number, it's 196, starts on 195.
What do you think, Dave?
And the reason you're suggesting that that sentence be deleted,
I don't think it was ever actually stated. I think this seems like an interpretation of the rules from the minute taker, not something that the board ever said.
I kind of recall saying that,
Okay.
but maybe our minutes person can go back.
No, if you two of you think it happened, that's fine.
I remember hearing something about that being said, somebody questioning it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a new law, and I had consulted with one of the council at Municipal Association, and I think what I was trying to convey was not my interpretation, but the interpretation of the Municipal Association attorney with whom I spoke.
Correct. Yep. And that's, last comment, line 202 is a bit word salad. That's it.
So whose job is it to get these to the minute taker? Right.
Well, hopefully the minute taker is listening.
She makes the corrections based on your
Comments.
discussion,
Yeah,
just like Whitney did.
Okay.
Does she do minutes for you guys, John?
Assuming this is the same person,
Kristen?
and we find our minutes to be almost perfect. It's unusual if we have two corrections in the minutes.
Well, what helps there is, when you watch it online, you have the scripts. I don't know if this one does the script on the screen. The,
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Transcript.
Transcript,
voice to text,
yeah, yeah,
captions.
yeah,
Okay,
subtitles.
yeah.
I suppose you.
Oh, yeah. Get it.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion on the minutes of June 24?
Recommend they be approved as amended.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and abstentions. Okay. John abstained because he wasn't here. Other than that, everybody voted to accept
And I
as
believe
amended.
Rob was out of the room when we skipped over the other minutes, so he doesn't know.
June 10,
Coming back to those later?
We don't have.
we don't have copies of them.
Oh, I gave them to you last time.
Yeah, we
You didn't
got
Well,
you.
that was last time.
Okay.
Um,
I can print you. You want me to go print you
No,
a big
I'm-
pile of them?
Given the fact that it's 8:25 and we have not yet gotten into the major reason for meeting at this work session, I would propose that we kick those June 10 minutes down the road to our, I guess it would be the August work session. Because I'm assuming that our second meeting this month will be
Busy.
the Laramie Farm continuation. So, I don't know how much we can get into, Tim. How late does anybody want to go tonight? Can we do 9?
I
Everybody
would
good
say
with
that
that?
9 is my absolute limit.
Okay,
But you guys can, continue on.
No, I think we
We-
need solidarity.
we are,
Well, I think we can get, at least I think we can convey what we've done here and have some time for conversation that we can follow up on. Shall I proceed?
go ahead.
So the first, what,
I made copies of
yes,
all.
I think we've got them. So the first one that says reformatted on the watermark.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that is the existing Route 4 district verbiage reformatted into the new format that we want to use for the zoning ordinance. And we're working on the rest of the zoning ordinance. It's actually almost done, but I only wanted to bring this one to your attention tonight. There isn't anything in there that's changed from the original wording other than, well, you can see there in the purpose and intent. Again, that's just to try to fit it into the new scheme, if you will. So there's that. The other document labeled draft is what we proposed verbatim from March of 26 that the voters rejected. For a replacement Route 4 district.
So are you saying this is a replacement for the version the voters rejected? Or this is the same?
This is the same.
This is exactly the same?
This is the one they rejected.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Now, having said that, out of all the forums and meetings and et cetera that we held, I don't recall that we ever really had any serious opposition to what we were proposing for the Route 4. I could be wrong, maybe some of you heard something occasionally. But I don't think this was what was turning people off from voting on the ordinance. It was, part of the big ordinance that we proposed. And it was primarily the village that I think, that's where we lost votes.
Yeah.
That said, and here we get into our opportunity to express opinions. And I'll just put one of them out there, and I've got others, but just one, and then we can chew on that, and then others may have other ideas. I want to see this pass for lots of reasons, and I think to ensure that it meets approval, I think we need to reconsider the increase in housing density that we proposed. And I would suggest we just leave it the way it currently is, which is 12 housing units per acre. We had increased it to 16. And all good reasons to do that, but that, by leaving it at 12, it would eliminate that controversy. And frankly, 12 dwelling units per acre, that's a pretty good, you take a 10-acre lot in the Route 4 zone. Do we have a 10-acre lot in the Route 4 zone? I don't think we do.
Sure.
Well, yes.
45 acres, Bob.
45 acres, 450 houses, well, 45 times 12, whatever that math is, it's up there. And we really need to go to 16. So, that's my only suggestion. What other suggestions might be out there for?
Tim, are we changing boundary lines?
Exactly as we had proposed changing them in March.
But this deals with Route 4 district only, and my recollection is that the present Route 4 and the proposed Route 4 are slightly different.
Yeah.
Wouldn't we then have to rejigger the ordinance, at least as far as the meets and bounds, for the districts that are either absorbed by Route 4 or the portion? See what I'm saying?
I do, and the only one we'd have to do that with would be on the western end of our proposed Route 4. We might have to jigger the meets and bounds description for the R1. Yeah. And I'll put that as a task.
And I would throw out the suggestion that the density be what it is currently, and it could be increased to 16 with a special exception, because that might allow some flexibility for properties that could accept that increase in density.
So what's in my view of Route 4, the biggest problem is the, what was the word? B, what's the B? Form, doesn't start with a B.
The form base.
The form rules.
Yeah.
That will be my top priority in getting rid of. So I think in line with what Tim suggested, getting rid of that and also having anything in there about density would make it a higher risk. So I would recommend if we're gonna do density, we do it as a separate warrant article.
Yeah, so to follow on, the way that could happen is if we get the reformatted zoning ordinance changed, we get the new Route 4 district approved. 2 years from now, if we decide that density really ought to be revisited, then we do it then.
Could do that too.
So it's basically just cleaning up the writing and leaving everything the same, just cleaning it up, cleaning up the format and moving on. I think that we got a good chance of that.
Are you saying don't go from 16 to 12?
It is 12 currently.
Go 12 and stay with 12.
Yeah.
So you're
Right.
saying you're starting as a base as the current ordinance, as opposed to the draft that we have in front of us?
Right, we'll change
That
the
leaves it at
16.
12, right, that leaves it at 12.
Yeah.
Basically, we're cleaning up the language, which will make things easier for people to understand. And then come back and revisit down the road, possibly changing the amount of units. But I don't think we'll get two things like that changed at once.
So this version, the draft, completely eliminates form requirements, which, are you okay with that? Because then, like it's more than just cleaning up the language, it's completely eliminating any rules about like the shape of the building.
I feel like what you're referring to
Yes.
is this one, the reformatted one.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I think that's what you're referring to.
Yes.
Not the draft.
No,
The
I
draft
like
is
the
the
form.
March
I agree, get rid of all that.
Okay.
No kidding.
I agree with that, sorry.
Were you, Tim, were you thinking that the one that's labeled draft, that marked as Route 4 District EV4, is a separate area than the one that's marked Commercial Route 4 District?
No, it replaces it.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So the warrant article would read, shall we replace the, call it C4, just to differentiate. Shall we replace the C4 district with a new EV4 district?
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
The one piece that's also a form item is the maximum front setback. I don't understand why we would leave that. If we're eliminating form.
Yeah, we did debate that. You better remember the,
I think it had to do with commercial buildings and parking lots in the front.
The amount of curb cuts,
Curb what?
curb cuts, kind of state, so it's sort of up the frontage the way it was.
So if you have it set back too far, you have more.
If you have less, if it's back further, if it's up closer. I forgot how it was worded now.
are we talking road frontage?
No, not frontage.
We're talking
Setback.
front setback.
Oh.
The thing that I
okay.
picture
The
in my.
reason that was there, matter, Bill's right. If you, so it says, front setback has to be a minimum of 20 feet, but no more than 80.
Right.
The reason they put that in there is they didn't want it to have 300 feet. The building sat 300 feet way down the back of
The
the lot.
12A parking lot.
Huge parking lot up.
So what if, the thing that I picture in my head is a mini golf. Like in that, like if I picture one, there's one, I used to live in Chichester. There's one there where they have a nice big display out front, it looks very touristy, inviting. The first building isn't until, way in. Maybe they have a fence that's less than, but 80 feet's just not that far to set up something like that.
Well, yeah, but I'm not,
That's one example, and they can get a variance, and that's developments. It's not, so, it's not,
Back,
I don't know.
back when I was on the planning board and we did the first rendition of Route 4, the concern we got from all residents was they didn't want it to look like West Lebanon. They
Right,
didn't
yeah.
want a big parking lot there.
Yeah,
Of course, what had happened is, we ended up with a dollar store. And it's still ugly. We had an edict that you had to have windows in front. Yeah, you just can't see through their windows. So you gotta be careful, you don't get too precise in everything. There's gotta be some room for flexibility, I think. But I do like the idea of not having, someone can get a variance, as you say, if they have a particular plan that people think this is gonna look good.
yeah.
Do you think that would be a variance or a special exception though? Do you need a hardship for a variance?
It's not a hardship issue.
Right.
You're right.
Well, yeah, but we can write it specifically for every future project that
Right.
might be out there.
Right.
So,
we may never see a mini golf.
right,
proposal.
yeah,
Yeah,
And it could be on a back walk in.
yeah.
right.
I have some questions on how much time we want to go through. I'll just run through my notes here and then future discussion. First page, line, 29, I guess.
Which document are we looking at?
I'm looking at the Enfield Village Route 4, the one that says draft.
Yeah.
Okay, draft.
Okay. Something that it sort of popped in my head. Minimum lot size, none. That would allow a non-buildable lot.
Well, there's other provisions in the ordinance that would prevent an unbuildable lot. There's a,
I think just language there stating that you cannot, it's no limit, no minimum, but it still needs to be a buildable lot.
So we had a similar discussion regarding EVD. I don't know, as people that weren't here during the last working session, have you reviewed the video of that at all?
he made
I
a
have
point.
No.
Kurt, you made
But
a point.
I did talk to Tim.
Right, someone just carves off and it's like,
It's 15,000 square feet, I think, in present.
But what I was gonna say was, we talked about the same thing regarding downtown, and we were talking about potentially adding minimum lot size, but removing road frontage as a requirement. Like, you need frontage, but there's no specific.
right, well, that's,
number.
I got some questions on that too.
So what do you think it ought to be, Kurt?
Well, just that, just a line in saying that it has to meet the minimum standards for a buildable lots. Demonstrate that if they do a subdivision, that each lot has to be buildable. Of some, be able to put a home, well, septic, well, it's downtown, but put a structure on that lot to meet the setbacks requirements.
Well, what if somebody wants to put in, let's say, a small drive-through or drive-in, drive-through bank, which would be a really small building?
Right, well, it's buildable. I'm saying when it's so small, it's non-buildable, and it gets taxed as a non-buildable lot. Because they just
Well-
carved off, they just drew a line and carved off the back end or the sides and says, that's a separate lot. By your standards, it's a separate lot.
But why would
How
someone do
would,
that?
how would you know that a lot was not buildable if you didn't know what was
He
proposed
has
to
to
be built?
demonstrate, he has to demonstrate he can put something on that lot, at least on paper.
Well, as I said, I can put a small drive-through bank
Okay,
with
you
with
just have to demonstrate on paper that that section of that property that you just drew a line through is buildable.
I think he's just trying to maximize the taxable lot as opposed to having people carve sections off to not have to pay taxes on it.
Well, the state law says you
Businesses
can't
won't do
create,
that.
well, I mean, state law says you cannot create a non-buildable lot, for one. So just having that language there,
Well, if the state law already
referencing-
says it,
but we're just referencing the RSA. So it's right there in front of you.
Could we research this and get back to you?
Yeah, okay. Now, like I said, I just wanted to read through because of the time. Second page, B2. The minimum width of frontage along roadways. Says shall be determined by the minimum width required for a driveway permit, is called town, blah, 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 but in no case less than 15 feet. So it's sort of like one or the other. So it's either gonna be the minimum driveway permit, or it's gonna be 15 feet.
Okay, our committee will take that up and come back with us.
Yeah, just pick one.
As a matter of record, is the driveway permit issued by the town or the state?
Depending on what road it's on.
Me either.
Third page, number 2. Same thing, same problem. Minimum 20 feet from town roadways, private way, as determined by the approved subdivision plans. Just delete the line as approved, or as determined by the approved subdivision plans. So it's either gonna be minimum 20 feet or something else. If the site plan, well, subdivision says
Talking
something
about-
different.
He's talking about for private roadways.
No, it says and for private roadways.
No, well, okay, maybe we need some punctuation adjustments there.
Yeah.
It's meant to say, for private roadways, it's determined by the approved subdivision plans.
Okay. Because I was just reading this for the first time, and these are just little flags that came up. I'm not gonna get into this. 995, building structure height limitations shall conform to the requirements of Article 4, Section 401. But then on this, it has Section 217.3. As height is 40 feet, I think it said.
It could be. I may have,
Yeah,
structure by 40
somewhere,
feet.
somewhere I read.
Okay, you found
It
an
was-
inconsistency. Well,
Yeah.
fix.
Yeah, just, so I think,
Well, what is the existing building height in the
it's 30, currently 35 town-wide.
Route 4? It's different, isn't it? Oh, it's less than that.
40.
Aren't we still at 35 feet on the books?
We are, but in the Route 4, there's some page, if you look in the reformatted page 7, principal building height, you see there's a chart there. And
32 max.
yeah, and we're proposing to get rid of all of that. So if we leave it the way it is in the draft, it'll be 35 feet. Yep.
Right, so on page 2, then, of the revised, says structure height 40 on the table.
Yeah, we'll fix that.
Yeah. And then the last page, last notes, page 5, line 146. A tree screen of 10 feet in depth. I wasn't really sure how you measured the depth or what it was referencing as depth. And then it says only trees, or a tree screen. That should be, if you're gonna have that, it should be a vegetative screen with a thickness maybe of 10 feet, if that's what you're referring to.
I had a similar comment, vegetative buffer providing year-round visual screening from ground level to height of 8 feet was mine.
Okay.
Yeah, year-round refers to evergreens only then.
We will reword that and bring it back to you.
There is no evergreen bushes. If it's a tree, it would be, I think, classified as a tree, slow growing, but,
Arborvitae.
yeah, it's, I think this,
Bushes.
yeah, I wouldn't say trees specifically, I would just leave it as,
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
We've also got to change the
natural vegetation.
EV, EVD, and R1 references there. We'll clean that up.
Yeah, that's the only comment I want to go through tonight is,
Well, if you notice anything else, Kurt, just pop me an email and
yeah,
our little committee here will debate it and bring it back. It's all cleaned up and hopefully acceptable.
Anything else you wanna try to get into tonight, Tim?
Well, I got one closing comment, but
Did we close lot size discussion? Is that,
oh, you mean the downtown district?
no, commercial, roof floor?
12 versus 16.
Oh, you still got more?
No, not density, lot size.
Oh,
Lot size, so there's no lot size requirement in the draft.
Yes, our committee's gonna take comments and come up with a suggestion.
Okay.
Yeah. Which may be none, but we're gonna have reasons for that,
Right.
that we can remember. Okay, so, just to revisit the game plan, Article 1 would be reformatted, complete reformatted old ordinance, right? Article 2 would be shall we replace the CB district, the existing CB, with the new EVD? And Article 3 would, shall we replace the existing, what we're calling C4, or Route 4, with the new EV4? So 3 separate warrant articles. Whether or not we revisit the village, we'll talk about next month. But I am curious what your all's thoughts are on that in very general, very broad terms.
That's an area that gets a lot of attention at the moment.
Yeah, I was gonna say, depending on how the zoning board goes, and then if it gets appealed to court, how that goes, that may guides your thought process and what to propose there.
Well, we can't wait for a court case to work its way, that may take a couple of years.
Yeah.
I personally think we should have that 4th warrant article to say, let's create the EV, but let's do it in a way that doesn't change the housing density that's already there, or the building heights, the 2 things that probably we lost most of the votes on. And get the boundary determined, get the thing set up so that we can work on it in years ahead.
And one other area to watch is that people on Maple Street really don't want some of the changes that were proposed. So
Yeah, so we should adjust the boundary to, I think, to conform with where the sewer is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Of course, that will still mean most of Maple Street is in the VEV, but
And which may expand.
yeah. Which is kind of interesting, you know, just to toss that out there. Let's say Laramie Farms gets built and all that stuff. We may have an article at some point to expand the village to include, you know, Laramie Farms.
If you wrote it, it's written as where water sewer or sewer line goes is, then it becomes by default.
Yeah, but it's not as easily to define it that way.
Well, there was also the Shaker issue you brought up. They have water, right, come to them, some form of piping sewer going to Shaker area?
Yeah.
So that would extend the village
Yeah.
to there, which I don't
Yeah.
think was ever.
Yeah, we don't want to be.
Yeah, and just be careful on how it's worded.
Right.
Or you just draw the lines on the map and say, reference the map.
Yeah. So, should our committee bring back to you in August, the August work session, a draft EV?
I would favor working on the principal dwelling count. No prince. Removing the limit, I'm just getting tired. Removing the limit on 1 principal dwelling per lot. I would rather focus on that than EV. That's just my opinion.
Well, what if we had a 5th warrant article to remove the 1 principal dwelling per lot?
I mean, I'm okay with that, but it's gonna take time either way, like, you know what I mean?
Well, that one will be fairly simple to draft. Is the other one passed? Okay. One or the other passed?
You know,
Okay.
people might be willing to consider one issue at a time rather than the whole thing. So I think you have something
Well,
there.
then the downside is it all passes or all fails. So there's,
If it all fails,
I'm giving up.
I wouldn't count on getting a 3rd crack at it,
not for a few years, yeah,
not for a long time.
yeah.
But consider this, the other towns that belong to our school system, do any of them have any form of zoning? Canaan, Dorchester.
Canaan does have a historic district,
up on, by the lake,
right,
where the fancy houses are.
right,
That's where the money was.
yes.
Yeah.
Not Grafton and not Dorchester.
Not Dorchester, right?
Orange.
Orange,
Orange doesn't.
no?
There's something,
And so
but it's
we
minimal.
are little,
It's only
we
500
worked
people.
hard to get zoning passed back in the day. it's not an easy process, and I don't think it's gotten easier.
So what is your
so-
recommendation then?
Keep it as simple as you can. The more complexity that's there, the people look at it and think, oh my God, I'm gonna vote against this. It's too complicated. I mean, I looked at part of it, I read it all, I said, Jesus, I'm gonna have to read this 3 or 4 times to figure it out.
Yeah, and it.
You guys are experts, right?
Well, hardly.
You love doing this. But the voters are not expert, and they don't love doing it. So we gotta be cautious.
And the other one with the general public is they'll skim read it, see a few lines that are just red flags for them,
Yeah,
and that's it. That's all they needed.
that's right.
But I think that the reformatted ordinance, I think that ought to be a fairly easy sell.
But if you do the reformat and then turn around and change it at the same time, I
Well-
think that's just gonna confuse people.
Well, I think the reformat would still pass. What might not pass is the other 3 warrant articles.
They get confused, they're gonna, like you said, people are gonna skim through it. We've looked at this for how long and how many times, and how many times coming up. The average person isn't gonna do that.
But we've eliminated the 2 big things that they objected to. They keyed on those 2 things,
What are those 2 things?
the increase in housing density
Yeah,
and the building height.
yeah.
I still think you do the reformatted and then throw a change in with the other one. I think, I don't know, I just,
Well, Bill,
I'd like
we'd
to
have
see it
wait.
happen.
We'd have to wait
I
how many
agree.
years?
I agree, that's not, I'm not debating that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I think too much at once loses people as well.
Right, if it gets voted down, you waited anyways.
So,
I mean, they decided that we.
I mean, we've always had sort of a rule of thumb. I don't remember what the exact number is, but we've always said, don't put more than X number of warrant articles having to do with zoning on the ballot.
And I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
And, you know,
You have to look
whether
at the
that
biggest
number
bang for the buck.
is 2 or 3, I don't think it's 5 or 6 or 7.
What do you think the biggest bangs would be if you were to rank them?
1 principal building per lot.
I like that. I'm on the fence with cleaning up the language so it's readable and people can understand it very simply, and the 1 building per lot.
So if you put those 2 on the next, on our next warrant article, I think 1 is just a reformat, so nobody's gonna feel like they're getting something new.
Right.
And then the second one is 1 cent, 2 cents being a little facetious here, 1 principal building per lot, because of what it will allow these developers to do.
I think that's the biggest bang
Yeah.
for the
And
buck.
that's it.
It would enable a lot to happen that is currently complicated.
And that's a good way to sell it. We're trying to simplify people's lives.
I'm just
I-
not sure the 1 principal building per lot would pass.
It might not.
It might not, but we're not gonna muddy the waters with 5 other things thrown in with it. I guess that's how I look at it. That's a lot for people to take in. I heard a lot of people saying a lot of weird things about what was proposed that had nothing to do with any of it. And a lot of people don't even read any of it. They got their information from Cousin Joanne's hairdresser.
But we were 60 votes short. It was a fairly even electorate.
So it's worth the effort. That's the way I look at it. It's worth the effort.
Risk mitigation. is what we're talking about though. It's,
Because
I mean, I hear what Bill is saying about just the reformat and principal building, but I think we could probably add one more without getting people totally confused.
I think that's the rewrite will be very straightforward. I think the 2 buildings per lot is very straightforward. Whether it goes or not, I don't know, but I think it's, like you said, it solves a lot of the issues that we have. And a third, I would say 3's fine, because none of them will be very complicated.
Yeah.
The rewrite is the
Keep
same
them
thing,
simple.
the same thing, we're just making it readable.
Right.
This is really the only change would be the getting away the 1 principal building per lot, throw something else in. I don't think I think we'd be
But
all
I think
right.
you're right. I think 3 is the magic number.
But if it was 2, those 2 items would be my
all right,
magic push.
here's the problem with the 3, and it's just a boundary issue.
I understand, and I get that. I don't know how to solve that.
You can't really do, you can, but so we keep the CB, or do we keep the Route 4 as is? Which one do we not jigger with?
Well, I mean, the Route 4 was always a great idea, but didn't do what we expected. It's more of a hindrance than a help.
it's also easier to explain, I think, if you say,
Yeah.
we're gonna, the third one is getting rid of form restrictions. Like if we were to say that as a summary, it'd be easy to explain.
You can just show them the Dollar General. That'll explain a lot of things to everybody.
Just have to say those words, Dollar General.
Well, I mean, we need to, I'm not sure that's a good example, because if we hadn't had the form zoning, there'd still be a Dollar General there. It just looked different. Not any better than it does.
It would have been a brick wall in the front instead of.
I think the one in Canaan's a little bit better than the one in Enfield.
Boy, that bar is pretty low. The one in
Absolutely.
Bristol,
That's the one a couple of
That's
us went to look at and
an
said,
almost
yeah,
good
yeah,
one.
yeah.
yeah, that's what you
Build one
want.
like that.
Anyway,
Sure.
well, so which is it?
Why don't we think about it and come back with our comments and positions in a month, because it's after 9, and I think people probably want to go home.
I make a motion that
Wait. You're out of order. We have more agenda items. We have new business.
Quick, John. Open them up again.
Buffets, any comments? Public comment time. David or Sharon? Okay, next meeting, July 22nd. Linda, would you care to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, and abstentions. We are adjourned at 9:03.
Well, folks, I'll try to pop by once in a while, even if I'm not needed, because Eric doesn't miss very many.
We appreciate your attending
John.
and your comments.
Yeah,
And I will get back to you on that county government thing.
all right, yeah, yeah.
Hopefully, if
Interesting.
you don't hear from me